Okay, thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. I will start off with the first question here, which is some of the questions on the intake form automatically populate the fields on the left side of the transaction details. Some do not, and I want them to. When I have asked help, I'm told the system will not do that. I don't understand. Why do some work and some don't? I don't want to duplicate my work. I've given the system an answer, and I want to utilize that answer in the transaction. It seems like there can be a better solution. I am not sure what you mean, Tammy. So when you fill out, let me just confirm this, and then you can post up and let me know if I'm on the right track here. So you are going into add a property intake form. You're filling out one of the intake forms here. And what you're saying is after you fill out those fields that they're not coming into the transaction. Am I on the right track there? You can just post a yes in the Q&A if I'm on the right track there, if I understood what you're saying. Some of the items do and some of them don't. Okay, so I would check fields. I know we kind of talked about this last week a little bit, but I would check your fields because if you have two fields that are maybe named the same accidentally or something like that, then you could have a problem there. I'm stumped on why that would happen. I run transactions every day through here. I've never had that happen. So I would just need a video of you filling out an intake form, what fields they actually are. Send it to help at open to close. Tell them that I want to look at it. Just tell them this is for Andrew. And so it gets posted to me. I will take a look at it today. I'm actually have surgery today at 2. So if you want to send that before 2 o'clock Pacific time, I will look at it and get you an answer as fast as I can. But I need to look in your system and see what fields you're filling out and look through your other fields and make sure there's no disconnect between the fields in your intake form that are marked and the fields in your field editor that are actually being filled out. So a little bit more complex of a support question, but we'll get to it. We'll dig into it and get that answer for you. Okay, I've started auto emailing one reminder for inspections to test out the functionality. It has taken several attempts to do so as I've gotten multiple answers on how to make it work. However, it's finally going. However, the last hitch is that I'm not BCC as coded. If I'm entering the transaction, then I'm the TC. Why do I also have to then add myself as a contact? Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just do that part of the question first. So the agent, or I'm sorry, the TC in the transaction is not, or I'm sorry, let me start with agent. The agent in the transaction is not the same as the agent portal user. So like it is the same person, but the way that it's coded in the back end of the system is not the same person. So we ask that you just put everything in the contacts. We know you're the TC, but we don't have, you may be the one filling it out, but there may be another person that you want as the main TC for that transaction or someone else that you want emailed or texted or whatever. So we just ask that you put it in the contacts. If you want to have that happen automatically, all you have to do is put yourself as an automatic add on the agent. So if you come over to the contacts and you go into your agents, let me find one that actually has one on here. So if you come into the contact screen and then you go to connections, and let's just pretend that SpongeBob is your agent, you can put yourself as a connection here and then put yourself as an automatic add. Anytime that this person is added to the transaction, you'll automatically be added. And you can do this for like, you know, escrow people that have assistants. If you don't want to have to put in their 3 assistants every time, you can just put the escrow person here and put their 3 assistants. Make sure this is checked to add to the property. Same thing with like title. Maybe they have or maybe like an attorney has a paralegal they work with every time, or title, or I'm sorry, a lender has a lender processor, an assistant. You can do that. It shortens up the time of, you know, entering these people every time. In the future, we are going to look at changing the way the back end works and maybe automatically add the TC and maybe automatically add the agent. But for right now, we just can't. It's a lot of work to recode what's already in there. So it's not going to happen anytime soon, but we may look at it in the future. In the meantime, this is your workaround though. Go and find a person that's getting entered into every transaction, whether it's multiple people. So let's just say you're working with 20 agents, you would have to put yourself under as a connection for all 20 of those agents. But once you're done with that, then it just happens automatically forever. So, Okay, let me get to the rest. Why can't I hard code who the template goes to without goes to within the template? I'm just finding what feels to be a lot of redundancy. Well, in the templates, we want to use contact roles. We don't want to use hard coded people because those people they leave the company or they get promoted and now they're not doing the same positions, and to go back and change thousands of templates would be super tedious. So the way that we made it was by role, so that you could easily interchange people. Once you get your template set up with those roles in it, though, it should be fairly easy to work around that. So like, let's just say this email template, you want it to go to the TC, right? Or whoever. Let's just say this is, who is this? The buyer. Well, we don't know if there's one buyer or 99 buyers in here. So if you put 99 buyers in your contact role, it's going to send to all those. If you want to BCC the transaction coordinator, now that is something that we're working on in the background. We may, similar to TC Workflow, if any of you are on TC Workflow, we may actually add a CC and BCC under the, this is something we're looking into right now. Under here, we would have something here like CC BCC, and then there would be a setting that says, do you want to always CC the transaction coordinator? Do you always want to BC the transaction coordinator? That's fine. You can definitely do that. But I still prefer the roles just because I can interchange those people. So if I want it to be a team leader, I can put a team leader role. If I want to always copy, someone on my team that has some obscure position, I can just create a role for them and now they're getting BCC'd on everything. So I think it's more flexible the way that we do it, but we are going to look into the BCC CC for agent and TC through the organizational menu. But again, it's a little bit down on the list. I think we've kind of laid it out and what we need it to do. It's not going to be an option for a little while. Okay, let me see what else is in this question. You just go out, but that contact isn't necessary. Oh, yeah, Tammy, I'm sorry. It's just the way the system works. You're going to have to put that contact in the system for it to go to that person. You can't do anything with hard coding right now. We have always had the stance of anti-hard coding, just because hard coding is hard coding and we want it to be super flexible. But we understand the frustration that you're having here. So, we will look into that for TCs and agents. We probably will not let hard coding for any other thing, because if you don't change it, you don't update your system, or you forget, or someone gets promoted or whatever, it's just really hard to know everything in this whole system as it grows and as you get bigger and as you start doing thousands of transactions, and it gets really hard to manage if things are hard coded and not role based. So, but thank you for that question. Appreciate that. Okay. If I want to BC or CC myself, so I have to add the email each time and wait for the system to load. It shouldn't take that much time to load. If you're loading an email, it should come up. If it's taking more than a couple seconds, then I would definitely send an email into the support team and let's take a look at that. Yeah, and that's something we're looking into. The checkbox on the email for the CC, it wouldn't be on the email. It'd actually probably be on the it would probably be on the organizational menu. Now, when you're in a transaction, if you want to BCC or let's see, BCC or CC yourself, let me go to a transaction real quick. Actually, I'll go to history. So if you're in the emails, you can actually type an email address in here if you want. So you can either choose from here, and then, like, if I wanted to just send it to myself, Andrew to close.com. Whoops. There you go. I can just type it in and add myself. So you can hard code it there, but this would be a one-off email. Or you could apply a template first. So I could apply a template, apply that template. Loads pretty quick. If yours isn't loading this fast, just let me know. And then you can type in at the end, if I want to type in Andrew at open to close.com. And then I just select myself, and now I'm here. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. Just a solution, so this is from Brittany, just a solution idea we've used. We have an internal contact group that we can apply to the template, including yourself as a BCC role contact within this group. Sorry, not template property. Okay, so let me reread that. We have an internal contact group that we can apply to the property, include yourself as a BCC contact within this group. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, I was going to actually touch on this too as a group. So in the contact groups, you can come down here and let me think, where are these under filters? Groups. Yeah, you can create a group here and you can create a group called like add to all transactions. I'm going to create this group and then I'm going to go over to my contacts and I'm going to add whatever people I want in this contact group. Okay. And then you're going to add that contact group to the transaction. So there may be 5, 6, 7 people in this that automatically get added to that transaction. Now in this contact group, it could even be a custom contact. So let me see here. So if I'm in contacts, you might have 2 of yourself for this reason only. I don't like to duplicate people. But for this reason, you can do it. If you want yourself to be a BCC, what you can do is come in here and under SpongeBob may be typically an escrow agent, okay? But under SpongeBob 2, this would be the person that you're adding in that contact group, and this person could be a BCC type role. So you could have BCC on all emails. I don't know if I have an all emails in here, but anyway, you get the point. BCC on all emails or CC on all emails, and then you can add yourself to that contact role so that when you come into that transaction, you already have that contact role on there and your templates are already set up to BCC or CC you. Okay, so contact groups are a great way to do that as well. We have talked about that as well as putting that in the triggers in the intake form. So you could say, if this is true, then add this contact group into the transaction. Okay, we don't have that right now, but if that would be something that's super helpful for you guys, we're more than happy to consider putting that in there. Is that what you're talking about, Brittany? Just give me a yes or a no. And if it's a no, give me a little bit more explanation on how you guys, yep, okay. Yep, I've used that a lot. And do you duplicate your contacts, Brittany, when you do it? Do you duplicate them so that you can have custom roles on the people when they come in, or do you just have one contact role and that's what that person is all the time? If needed, I would. Okay. Yeah. So it just depends. Like if this person is, if SpongeBob is the team leader and he's always the team leader, then it's not a big deal just to put him in the transaction. How much is it to have your team look over our system and troubleshoot with us, figuring out where inefficiencies are and how to make work faster, best practices to make it more efficient? I feel like we're really missing major steps. You think I should know this, right? I believe a half an hour review, I want to say it's $89, something like that. And they'll go through and just kind of, it may take more than a half an hour depending on how big your system is. But that's a good start to kind of just go through your fields. And now we probably would need you on that call. I'll have to talk to the onboarding team about that, but having you on that call is pretty crucial because sometimes it's hard to look through someone's system and see what they were thinking when they were creating it. And so there may be a part where you're not on the call, maybe a part where you are on the call, but yeah, we could definitely do that. Definitely reach out to help at Open to Close and we can set something like that up. And if you want to focus on like one area in particular, we can. If you want to start with something and just do like 15 minutes on contacts or 30 minutes on contacts or something like that, we could start there and then move around the program as needed. All right, cool. Let's see here. All right, we're out of questions. So if anyone has a question or just maybe a topic that they want to discuss, like even if you just give me a broad topic like Smartblocks or whatever, like I can discuss those. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of things that you guys don't necessarily need me to talk about at this stage in your building. So. Well, I'll just kind of spitball until someone posts something in there. Let's see what we can talk about. That's been some questions. Does the team have any things that have come up this week that you want to talk about or any questions that maybe we should discuss on here before I go into a diatribe?
I would say maybe Go ahead.
Maybe just a refresh on intake form troubleshooting, just some of the best practices of navigating the back end of the intake form, but also the front end once the property is created. I think that uptick a little bit more this last week.
Sure. How about you, Hannah? What did you have?
Just in case you didn't mention it earlier, I was a little late. But this evening we're going to be going over emails, text messages, and messaging. So if you guys are interested, go to the webinars page. It's going to be at openToClose.com underneath the Learn tab. And we're going to be doing the afternoon class for emails, texts, and messaging 101, if anyone's interested in joining.
Yep. So that is let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth one down. If you want to sign up. So it's on openToClose.com, Learn tab, webinars, and you can see all the webinars. They do a morning session, an afternoon session. So feel free to jump in on those. There's some great information there as well. Okay, Smartblocks too. So we'll go over Smartblocks. Let me go over the intake forms first, Sarah, and then I will touch on Smartblocks and just kind of give you a cursor. And then there's also before I get into this, just so you can kind of look this up. If you go to, what am I doing? Let me go back to Open to Close. Under the Learn tab, under the Help Guides, or if you're in the program, it's under the Profile menu. And you search for Smartblocks. This is an old one, but it's a good one to kind of wrap your brain around what's happening with Smartblocks. What's happening here? Smartblocks. Huh, that's weird. Am I not spelling it right? Maybe it's spaced out. Let me say emails. Okay, there's one that says 2000, maybe a better way to search for it is 2021. Let's see. Here, this one right here, email templates, merge fields, and Smartblocks. This is about 20 minutes. You can speed up that video to 2 times speed, but you'll probably want to slow it down once you get to the Smartblock section. This is going to give you a really good overview, but I'll go over it too as well. So let me jump back over here real quick. And we'll go to templates and we'll go to intake forms. And we should probably update you guys are doing the group session on intake forms, so that's good too. So if you really want to dig down into it, get on the group session. Okay, so when you're in here, let me just give you a basic overview of how these intake forms work and how you can optimize them. The fields, obviously, these are all the fields that are going to show up for the agent to see on the intake form. Now, don't feel like you have to have them all here, right? There may be some that are like, if it's a VA loan, then I need to add a couple more fields that they need to fill out. That's not here. That's going to be in your form conditions, which I'm going to go over in a second. So these are just like the base form that you want the agent to fill out. You can keep this fairly small depending on your situation, and then have it grow. So if someone says yes to, let's just say that, I don't know, let me find one. Maybe there's like home inspection, yes or no, right? This could be a yes or no answer. If it's yes, then you want to ask them more questions. If it's no, then we don't want to ask them any more questions. So you don't want this form to be super long. You want it to be as short as possible and then add fields in as you go. So you want to put the base fields in here. If it has to be required from the agent, then go ahead and mark it red. Do not mark anything red that they may not have the information. If you do, they're not going to fill out the intake form and they're going to wait. And then you're going to get the contract like 3 days after it went under contract. And, that spells disaster for you and also for probably your state guidelines. So make sure that you're only putting the things that are required that are very necessary. These green ones are going to be what shows up for the TC in the actual property. And then these ones are going to be required by the TC on that second approval stage, which we'll get to here in a second. And this is really important because this is almost like a secondary intake form, not as fancy as the first intake form. But these are questions that my TCs, I'll give you an example. How many days is the inspection period? How many days is the response time for our disclosure? How many days? All those things can be changed in my contract. So I want the TC to verify those. I do not want the agent to verify those, right? Those would be right maybe 1 out of every 10 times if I have the agent on those. So we want the TC to do the very detail-oriented questions. We want the agents just to answer the overall general theme of what's happening. Now, on my team, it's a little different. Like my agents are required to fill out some all the stuff, and it's just because that's the standard we've set. But most teams that I've talked to want the agents to fill out as little as possible. Okay, so that's what these are. Then there's another stage. So documents, if you want to add in certain documents that they can upload. Now, these can also be conditional. You can say, if there's septic, then make sure they upload the septic addendum. If there's a well, make sure they upload the well addendum. So only put the things in here that are required on every single transaction. And we want to use the form conditions for anything else. Same thing with contacts. If this is a buyer form, obviously there's going to be at least one buyer. Now, under the form conditions is where you can add multiple buyers depending on how many buyers there are on the transaction. And then, so let me go back to form conditions, or let's see, review page. You can write whatever you want, submit it. I'm not going to go over that too much. Assigned agents, these are all the agents that are assigned to this form. So if you create an intake form after you've already started this process and already assigned all the agents to the portals, and you create a new one because you have short sales you're getting into, right? The market swings. Now you're doing a bunch of short sales. You want a short sale template for intake forms. You can come down here and just add a bunch of agents who you want to have access to that after the fact, instead of having to go through each one of their user profiles and add that on. So it's a lot easier to come over here and just add the agents one by one. Internal instructions, these are things that pop up for the TC to see and acknowledge before it becomes a transaction. So if you always want them to remember something before it becomes a transaction, type it in here. You can type in as many as you want. You can just say ABC, add. Right. So anyway, these would be instructions for the TC. Settings. I think everyone's familiar with these settings by now, but if you're not, go ahead and check out the articles on these. The layout, you can move field sections. You cannot move individual fields. It's just too cumbersome with the way that we do custom fields in the back end to be able to move a field up to a different section. So you can move the sections, you cannot move the fields. And then your design, you can put logos and stuff in here. Now, here are the really important parts. Form conditions. Now, this is if I chose that this is a seller and not a buyer, then what do I want to happen? I want extra fields to pop in. I want extra contacts to have to be filled out. I want extra documents to have to be uploaded. So you can hit edit actions and I say, if this field equals the seller, then I want to put in listing price. Now, this field's currently being used in the form fields. It's not recommended to use it in conditions. So this one automatically comes in every single time. That's what it's warning you about. So it's telling you like, hey, get rid of this. You do not want this in here. Okay. So you'd want to I'm going to leave it in here just for demonstration purposes. But so if it's a seller, I want purchase amount, sale type. Maybe these don't make sense, but I'm just kind of giving you, if it's a seller, these fields will pop in. And they'll be required because I checked the required on these for the agent to fill out as they're filling this. The form becomes dynamic, right? It builds. Contact roles. A cool thing that you can do on this is you could say, if there's a number 2 in this field, and the field might be how many sellers are there? If there's 2 sellers, well, then I want an extra seller to come in here and I want it to be required. If there's a 3 filled out in how many sellers are there, then I would want another seller in here. So seller, because I already have the one that's in my original that I showed you over in, if I come over to my contacts, well, this is a buyer, but we'll pretend this is a seller. This is a seller because I'm filling out a seller intake form. So anyway, so this would be a seller. And then when I come over to form conditions, if there's 3, I need to require 2 more. I want all the information the first time. I don't want the agent only giving me 1 seller and then I'm scrambling to find out who the other sellers are. So you can put 2 more required here. Or if it's 3 buyers, you can put buyers in here. Documents, same thing, like my example, if there's a well, you may want a well addendum. If there's a FERPTA, you may want some kind of FERPTA documentation. If there's a septic, you may want septic addendum. So you can add these in and then make them required or not required. Now, be real careful on the documents because a lot of times these agents aren't getting like the referral agreement signed. So if there's a referral, yes, add in these extra fields, add in these extra, maybe you want the referral agent information here. Maybe you want the referral agreement. Well, sometimes these agents aren't getting them before they sign the deal. And so they do them after the fact. So don't require it or they're going to be hung up on this stage in the intake form. So I would not require it and then just have a follow-up set in there to do that. Okay. The same thing with buyer. You can have different, you can have different things that come in based on what fields being filled out. So the other example I gave you was if there's a referral, then I want to know the percentage and who the agent is. I want the referral agreement. I want the referring agent contact information put in the file. And now all of this is just going to make your transaction go so much smoother by having these form conditions in here so that you're getting the correct information up front. You're not having to chase it down. But here's the real magic in these is the form triggers, and these form triggers are if these things are true, or if in this case, it's this needs to be true, and one of these two second and third things need to be true. So you can put and or conditions by clicking on the blue part here and adding another or if I want to put an or up to this one, I can click on this blue file roll and it will come in with an or condition or a child condition. Okay. If you want them to be all ands, you can get rid of this and just have a bunch of ifs, and then they'll all have to be true for this to happen. So if these things are true, then this document template comes in, this document template comes in. If this is true, this task template comes in. If this is true, this task template comes in. So you can see, you can go through and say, if HOA is equal to yes, add in my HOA fields, add in my HOA tasks, add in my HOA documents. Okay. So once all that's filled out, you can have all this stuff trigger. And then what Jana was saying was, let's cover the secondary part of it too, which is you're going to have an intake form come in. It's going to be under your submitted menu here. Or if you have these shortcuts on your dashboard, you're going to see that I have an intake form that came in from an agent. When I click on that, you're going to see that here were my instructions. The TC has to physically check these off for them to go away and satisfy that. And now it's going to tell me, hey, I have a document to review. Great. I'm going to review that. Let me just approve it real quick so we can get through that. And then go back to, which transaction am I in right now? 876 South Curtis. Okay. So I'm going to go back to approve. I have a contact to verify. Looks good. So this one's telling me there's similar contacts in your list. Do you want to use this contact or do you want to select the contact? I'm just going to use this contact. Now it says good. Now this may have put a duplicate in my database. So just be careful of that. If it's telling you that there's something similar, it's looking at that email and saying that there's another one in here with this email, and you can either duplicate it or you can not duplicate it. So you can use contact would be the other option. And then you would choose that contact from your database so that it doesn't duplicate. You can also import the people from Follow-Up Boss as well. Okay. Okay. So anyway, there typically would be questions. This one I didn't have any because I probably set this up so I can get through it really quick. But what typically would happen is when you say approve intake, there would be a bunch of questions here. For me, it's how many days is the inspection period? How many days is this? How many days is that? All the things that I want my TC to verify before it becomes a transaction. And then I can approve the submission, and it's going to load my triggers, and it's been approved. And now it's an actual transaction, and it applied my template. So now it applied this task template. It applied these document templates. I don't know what else it applied, but yeah. Oh, actually I can go in here and I can go to my intake submission here. So that was in your health bar. If you come to your intake submission, you can actually see the things that it did. So this template was completed. There's the template. It has a checkbox next to it. So it's good. This field doesn't look like it came in for some reason, whatever that reason is. I can retry it if I want to, but no, one or more of the conditional statements failed. So there's no HOA on this property. So that's okay. These ones didn't come in for whatever reason. There was, oh, here you go. Actually, if you click under options here, it will put it in red if it's not true. If it's true, it'll put it in this kind of black gray type font. Here it's saying HOA is not equal to yes over here. So if I came over here and I looked at HOA, I don't know if this is the right one. Nope, this isn't the right one. There's another HOA here somewhere, probably in my agent intake questions. No. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure this out. Let me check here real quick. Agent intake questions. Owner association. I don't know what. Anyway, if I apply this. Oops. Anyway, I'm not going to go through that because it's too confusing for me just picking up a transaction that I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, you get the gist. You can come up here and you can go to this intake submission. You can see what fired. And then if there was an HOA on this and you saw that it didn't fire, you could go check your field called HOA and change it to yes, and then retry this. And if I change that to yes, then this would actually fire and this field would come in. Okay. Anything else you want me to touch on that, Jana?
Nope, that was pretty good.
Okay. All right, cool. Sarah, Smartblocks. She just said Smartblocks, please. So I'm assuming that's just a general overview. Smart blocks are really cool. Tell me a little bit more, Sarah, while I'm talking, tell me a little bit more about where you're at in open to close. Have you added any smart blocks? Do you have an idea of where you want to put smart blocks? Do you, is there anything in particular you want to do that I can speak on? Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of talk in generalities. All right. So if I go to templates, I'm going to come over here to the buyer test template here. And in here, we have 3 smart blocks. So this is an interesting one. And actually, this is a good thing to talk about. You can create a field, and that field may have a choice. It may be a choice field, right? So it may be like, if the buyer accepts the premises as is after the inspection, or maybe they're asking for repairs or a credit, or maybe they want to cancel. Okay, those are the 3 options we have in Arizona. So based on that, this is one of the techniques that you could use. This smart block, let's pretend that it's what I'm talking about. And this smart block here could be, if I choose the buyer accepts the premises as is, this smart block could be if I choose the option that they want to ask for a repair. And this option is for if they want to cancel. So now you could just have these 3 smart blocks in here. And then in this one that says that they accept the premises, you could have written something like, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, congratulations, my buyer accepted the premises as is. And then the condition on this would be if buyer accepts premises as is. So if that was one of the choices of your fields and you chose it, it knows that's true. And it's going to pop in smart block number 1, and it's going to get rid of smart block number 2 and 3. Okay. So smart block number 2 could be if they're asking for repairs. So this email, if I went to it, could say, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, the buyer's asking for a list of repairs. Attached is the whatever document you call it in your state. The third one could be a smart block that says, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, the buyer didn't accept the premises. We're going to cancel the deal. You should be receiving an escrow cancellation in the next 48 hours or whatever your process is in your state. So this is one technique of using smart blocks, and that is the smart blocks are the email. The actual emails are actually written inside of the smart blocks. Okay. Brittany says using smart blocks in this case has been a game changer. This way, whenever the group is edited, it updates all email templates this group is attached to automatically. Yeah, that is one of the big benefits. And I haven't thought about that in a while, but you are correct. Like when you update, when you edit things, just having it easily update throughout the system is great because you have those smart blocks throughout the system. So that's really cool. So yeah, this is one of my favorite ways to use it. Now, if you're using triggers, obviously, there's some things where maybe you don't use this. Maybe you just have the 3 emails sitting in your triggers. And then you say, if I choose this field, this email goes out. If I choose this field, this email goes out. So you're not technically needing to use the smart blocks, but you can. So let me go over another example. So let's go to this one. Oh, I want to go over my favorite example too here. And I don't know if I have an email with this set up, but it's a really fun one and everyone should be using it if you're an independent TC, especially. So these ones are, here's a smart block. If there's a co-buyer agent, right? So if there's a co-buyer agent, I want it to put in the words and then the co-buyer agent name. So this is like, hi, my name's Andrew. I'm the transaction coordinator for, Bill agent and Sally agent, if there's a co-buyer agent. So if there's no co-buyer agent, it's just going to say, and I'm the transaction coordinator for Bill agent. And this period, this is going to disappear. And this period is going to kind of suck back up to the end of the first name. Be real careful on punctuation in smart blocks. And I talk a lot about this in the videos, but just make sure that you're testing these smart blocks. Create one smart block, test it again, make sure the punctuation's right, make sure there's no funky spacing, make sure that it looks good on, in the email. You'll be thankful that you tested it 3 or 4 times before you actually put it into place, because once you start getting 40, 50, 60, 70 smart blocks, it's really hard to go back and find your little issues if you haven't tested them along the way. So it's better to just test one at a time, make sure it's good, and then move on to the next one. There's another one here. We've sent all the fully signed documents. So in Arizona, we send all the fully signed documents to the escrow agent, but we also send them to the lender if there's a lender on the file and if it's not seller financing and all those things. So this one just says, we've sent all the fully signed docs to your escrow agent and lender. And lender comes in if it's not seller financing, if there's a lender on the file, if it's not cash, blah, blah, blah. So you can see how these are super helpful. A lot of people tell me all the time, like, I don't want to use smart blocks because I don't like automation because it's going to make me sound impersonal. It's going to make me sound like a robot. I have you know, everybody that talks to me has the best gold touch in their service. And I know everyone has great service and blah, blah, blah. But this actually makes it look more personal because you don't have to remember to add in the things that you're doing. You can make it look very custom. And like you spend a lot of time on these emails by using a little bit of automation in here. It doesn't have to take away all of the service aspect of it, but it does enhance the current service that you're doing. Okay. The other thing that I love Smartblocks for is adding in contacts. So special conditions, actually, let me touch on this one first. So if there's an HOA, if there's septic, if there's a well, if there's FERPTA, all these things that I may want to let my whoever know, whether it's an escrow agent or someone else during the transaction, you need to let this person know that there's all these special conditions on the property. What I do is I make a Smartblock group and I'll put all of those smart blocks in there. So if there's an HOA, put in the words, there's an HOA on this property, please order the HOA demand as soon as possible. If there's septic on the property, there's septic on this property, please order the septic transfer and send all the fees to my client as soon as possible. So now I don't have to remember. All I have to do is have the agent or the TC check that there's a septic, there's a well, there's a FERPTA, there's this, there's that. And all of this stuff will automatically come into the email, reminding the escrow agent to do their job, reminding the attorney to do their job, reminding the agent to do their job, and you don't have to remember. All you have to do is check those boxes and everything happens automatically for you. So special conditions is a really cool one where you could have a list of 15 conditions spray out just from one Smartblock group. But one of my favorites is, and let me try to find one that has this in it, is the contacts. So like if I'm an independent TC and I'm working with 50 different agents and they all have different people that they want to recommend for inspections and appraisals and all this stuff, right? Well, that means that you have to go in and type those people every single time or remember who's what and whatever. What you can do is put those people as a contact connection. So if Bill Agent is on this file, he likes to use John Inspector and Sally Appraiser and whatever else, right? Susie Stager, all these people. Well, I don't want to have to remember and have to type them in individually to my email. So what you can do is create a Smartblock loop. Okay, so if you come in here, so let's go to utilities and you're going to use this contact loop. And this contact loop is a start contact, end contact. Okay. So let's say they have 3 inspectors they want to recommend and all of them come into the transaction. Well, I put those 3 inspectors in there as inspector recommended. I don't put them in as the inspector that was chosen. I put them in as inspector recommended. And then I have a smart block that comes in. If there's a home inspection on the file, I want to insert this group of people, and those are going to be my recommended people. So it may be something like, hey, just in case you don't have an inspector that you trust, here's a couple recommendations from your agent, : and then down here is a smart block. And that smart block could contain 1 person or it could contain 50 people if you want to. And all you would have to do is have those people attached as a connection in your contacts to that agent. They come into the file as a home inspector recommended. They come into the email automatically. Now, once they say, hey, I chose Susie Inspector, well, now you can change that contact role from recommended inspector to the actual inspector. And now that person, that Susie Inspector, or whatever I called her, is going to get all the emails for the inspector, all the scheduling for the inspector, all the whatever else you provide for your clients on the inspector. So changing that role from recommended to actual inspector now changes them to be getting the correct emails for the rest of the transaction, while the other ones just kind of sit there. You can delete them if you want, but I just leave them in there as recommended. And I know who I recommended and who they actually chose. Another cool part about that is you could probably report on it in some capacity and say like, hey, your clients chose this person 70% of the time. Like, why? Is it because I had them first in the list? Is it because I had them last in the list? Like, try to figure some of those out and then provide some real value to your agents as well. Okay, so that's, I know that was pretty broad. Use that, use this video right here, and it's going to go over and let me see here. So this one's all, you can, oh, here, recommendations. Okay. Okay, so let me make this bigger. Okay, hopefully you can still see my screen. If not, then you can go to that video. But in here, you can have Smartblock, accepted offer, contact your inspector, contact your lender, order inspection, earnest money. You can have all these different things. And then you can have Smartblock, homeowners insurance, agent recommended, inspector recommended. You can have all these different things in your Smartblocks, and it'll go over in detail. And that's at 30 minutes into the video. I'm sorry, this video, oh shoot. This video is actually 1 hour and 6 minutes. So go to minute marker 30 and you'll be able to get right to that recommendations that I just talked about. Okay. Cool. We are out of questions. It is 11:42. What else do you guys want to hear about before we go? So I can end early if you guys want, or if you guys put some questions in, we can keep going until 12 o'clock Pacific. I'll give you another 2-3 minutes and then we'll go ahead and shut her down. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Hannah, you said about the group classes. That's right. I just didn't want to miss what you said. Yeah, the other thing that we can take a quick look at that I like to look at on every one of these is make sure you get familiar with this right here. Here's the Idea Lab. We will be updating this quite a bit in the future. Here's your Sports Center with all your articles and procedures. Keyboard shortcuts, I would definitely look into that. This is really cool. This change log is telling you what happened in the program. Here's one from May 25th, which was what, 6 days ago. So if you don't know what changed 6 days ago, you can come in here and check it out. Yeah, so get familiar with that for sure, because there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and also get familiar with like global settings and your filters and where all this stuff is. And navigation is a huge piece of understanding this program. Okay, what's an example of a simple smart block I should start with for some practice? Great question. So let's come over here and let's go through a couple of these and see what I have. Okay, so here's one. You could have a smart block for contacts like I was talking about. So this is a smart block for ABC Title Company, right? So if you're using a title company, so it depends on what state you're in, right? Because some you're using an escrow company for every single time. Some you're like picking an attorney. So this may be more applicable if you like have to select an attorney. But in here, if you come in here and look at this one, it's like, here's the title information. And then you can put all that information for this title officer in here. Okay. And the conditions are if contact client type is equal to buyer or buyer agent exists in the property. So if there's a buyer agent, then we're sending this title information and it will actually grab this person. So in the actual smart block, you're going to see it's a loop and it's going to say, put in the name of the title agent, put in the company of the title company, put in the office number, put in the address, and all this will come in based on what contact is actually in your contact list for this transaction. So that's kind of a cool one. Let me see what this is. Oh yeah, this is actually what it would look like. So if you're putting in an escrow agent, obviously you probably only have one escrow agent if you're doing that, but just let's pretend this is inspector or something, and you want to recommend more. You could put in start contact, business name, business address, city, state, zip, blah, 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 blah. BR, that's a space. Okay, so you want to put a BR in there for a space. And then it basically what it will do is it will go and it will look for everyone with this on it. So if they're an escrow agent or an inspector or a lender or whatever you have in there, it's going to look and it's going to grab all the people that are escrow agents, and it's going to put the information for the first one, a space, and then it's going to put the information for the second one, a space, and it's going to put an information for the third one. And that's why this is called a contact loop, because it's looping through all the contacts. Okay. And it's going to grab, if you have 99 lenders, not that that would happen, but if there were 99 lenders, it would actually list all 99 in there. Okay. Here's one, Smartblock group to all parties. Oh, this is a group. Okay. So I'm not going to get into groups too much, but basically a group is a bunch of smart blocks inside. So you can have a separate condition for the group, whether it comes in, and then it will go through each smart block and look at the conditions for each smart block as well. So this is when you get a little bit more advanced and really understand smart blocks, and you can start upping your game and getting into smart block groups. And they're really cool. Because what I use it for is all parties of the transaction. And then I'll have like buyer, seller, lender, escrow. I'll put all my contacts in here. Well, it's only going to grab the ones that meet the conditions. So it's going to say, put in a buyer if I have the buyer, put in the lender if I have a lender, put in the escrow agent if I have an escrow agent, put in the lender if or whatever, inspector if I have an inspector. So it'll go through and it has a separate set of conditions. It'll say, is there a buyer? Yes. Okay, list them all. Is there a lender? Yes. Okay, list them all. And it will make this long list that you can put in your email without you having to do anything at all. So contacts are probably a good place to start. Another thing would be like the ones that I showed you before, like, co-buyer agent, or maybe just some words in there to customize your email, like and lender. Like we've sent all fully signed documents to your escrow officer and lender if there's a lender. Let's see what else we got in here. Let's see.
Just to piggyback while you're pulling one up, one email that I generally like to start building out because it gives me a lot of Smartblock opportunities is your intro email. Typically when starting a file, you see quite a bit more Smartblocks there just because it's a lot of that core information right off the bat. So if you wanted to take your email templates that you're currently using and start building out some of those Smartblocks, create a cloned email template that you can swap them out to. Like Andrew said, do a lot of testing on it, check your spacing. Once you get really comfortable there, you're probably going to pick up a lot of these base Smartblocks that Andrew's going through just in that one email template alone.
One good thing to mention is don't ever stylize your Smartblocks. Okay, so if I have a Smartblock here, make sure this isn't like bolded. Okay, you want to bold inside the Smartblock. You want to italicize inside the Smartblock. You don't want to do this on the actual Smartblock because programmatically it's looking at this and it's trying to find, if you bold it, sometimes it like programmatically, it doesn't look at it and it recognize it as a Smartblock. So this needs to be, if for some reason you have bold on here, just come up and hit this TX button. It's going to take it back down to the original formatting. And now it's going to recognize it every time. But if you have some bold or highlighted or whatever, make sure all that highlighting and stuff is inside the Smartblock when you build it, not on the outside. Okay. So you can see these can get pretty long. You can also have Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks. I wouldn't do that to begin with. Obviously, if you're just starting, I would get used to just a Smartblock, and then you can start inserting a Smartblock inside of a Smartblock. Now, one thing that if you have problems with your Smartblocks and you have a bunch of Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks, we're not going to be able to help you that much. I spent like 2 days one time trying to decipher Smartblocks inside of Smartblocks for somebody. So if you're more than like 3 deep, we're going to be very limited help for that. If you stick to about 2 or 3, then we can still help you kind of decipher what happened. So just kind of a little warning. I've had people with like 99 levels of Smartblocks, and it just gets way too confusing to if something ever happens. So yeah, I don't have any other examples in here. Maybe next week I'll try to have that one handy with the inspectors so you can see the recommended people coming in and then turning to the regular. But it's also in that video that I mentioned to you. So all right, cool. We're about 10 minutes before end time. So if anyone else doesn't have questions, hang out another 2 minutes. If I don't see a question pop in here, we'll go ahead and end it. Yep, you are welcome. And feel free, Sarah, to jump in our Facebook group and ask that same question. Does anyone have any ideas for Smartblocks? You may get 1,000, ideas in there. So that may be a kind of a cool question to post. So. All right, cool. Looks like we don't have any other questions. Thank you for being here. Same time, same place next week. Appreciate all the questions and I hope to see you next week. Have a great week. Bye.